And we are live. Hello, welcome. How are all of you? Personally, I'm having a wonderful day. Oh, sorry I didn't stream last night. Things came up, had to take care of them. Um, but today we are back, and we are back with The Witness. It's been a fun little experience. And tonight we are heading back up on top of the mountain. Once I figure out my way up there, of course. Sorry, just sort of exploring there real quick. I know I got up here to the top once, I just can't. I think this is the way I did it. Or not.
The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science. Whoever does not know it and can no longer wonder, no longer marvel, is as good as dead and his eyes are dimmed. It was the experience of mystery, even if mixed with fear, that engendered religion. A knowledge of the existence of something we cannot penetrate, our perceptions of the profoundest reason and the most radiant beauty, which only in their most primitive forms are accessible to our minds. It is this knowledge and this emotion that constitute true religiosity. In this sense, and in this alone, I am a deeply religious man. I cannot conceive of a God who rewards and punishes his creatures, or has a will of the kind that we experience in ourselves. Neither can I, nor would I, want to conceive of an individual that survives his physical death. Let feeble souls, from fear or absurd egoism, cherish such thoughts. I am satisfied with the mystery of the eternity of life, and with the awareness and a glimpse of the marvelous structure of the existing world, together with the devoted striving to comprehend a portion, be it ever so tiny, of the reason that manifests itself in nature. Albert Einstein, 1931.
Interesting. Don't know what any of those do, but that is obviously not the way to go. Okay, so this puzzle you have to solve multiple ways. Okay, so interesting. Some sort of like Truman Show, maybe? Okay, so we're creating ourselves a path, it looks like. Oh yeah, good thing I'm using a guide because this would be difficult otherwise. Oh, this would be just about downright impossible. I can barely tell what's being shown. See, things like this is probably partially why people are complaining about this game. hell? Why? Why it no let me interact? What? Oh, okay. That is dumb. Okay, so the trick to that is actually clicking on the start point where it's supposed to be, not where it actually is. This is so odd. Trying to do this. Oh god, now it's actually moving as I'm trying to do something. The hell? Walk me running. Son of a bitch. There we go. God, that hurt. Yeah, you gotta do this one from further back. Otherwise you can't get the right angle on it. There's a recording there. You just gotta figure out how to get to it.
The relation between the controller and the controlled is reciprocal. The scientist in the laboratory studying the behavior of a pigeon designs contingencies and observes their effects. His apparatus exerts a conspicuous control on the pigeon, but we must not overlook the control exerted by the pigeon. The behavior of the pigeon has determined the design of the apparatus and the procedures in which it is used. Some such reciprocal control is characteristic of all science. As Francis Bacon put it, nature, to be commanded, must be obeyed. The scientist who designs a cyclotron is under the control of the particles he is studying. The behavior with which a parent controls his child, either aversively or through positive reinforcement, is shaped and maintained by the child's responses. A psychotherapist changes the behavior of his patient in ways which have been shaped and maintained by his success in changing that behavior. A government or religion prescribes and imposes sanctions selected by their effectiveness in controlling citizen or communicant. An employer induces his employees to work industriously and carefully with wage systems determined by their effects on behavior. The classroom practices of the teacher are shaped and maintained by the effects on his students. In a very real sense, then, the slave controls the slave driver, the child, the parent, the patient, the therapist, the citizen, the government, the communicant, the priest, the employee, the employer, and the student, the teacher. B.F. Skinner, 1971.
Interesting. Although this also looking at this kind of speaks to man being trapped by technology, office work, trapped in the sterile environment, trapped away from both himself, humanity, nature.
Two major schools of Zen exist in Japan, the Rinzai and the Soto. Both have the same goal of seeing the world unmediated, but their approaches are different. In the Soto school, the emphasis is on quiet contemplation in a seated position without a particular focus for thought. The method in the Rinzai school, however, is to put the intellect to work on problems that have no logical resolution. Such problems are known as koans, from the Chinese kengan, meaning public announcement. Some are mere questions. For example, when your mind is not dwelling on the dualism of good and evil, what is your original face before you were born? Others are set in a question and answer form, like, what is the Buddha? Answer, 3 pounds of flax, or the cypress tree in the courtyard, to name but two of the classic responses. According to tradition, there are 1,700 such conundrums in the Zen repertoire, and their common aim is to induce a kind of intellectual catastrophe, a sudden jump which lifts the individual out of the domain of words and reason into a direct, non-mediated experience known as Satori. Zen differs from other meditative forms, including other schools of Buddhism, in that it does not start from where we are and gradually lead us to a clear view of the true way of the world. It is not a progressive system in this respect. The sole purpose of studying Zen is to have Zen experiences, sudden moments, like flashes of lightning, when the intellect is short-circuited and there is no longer a barrier between the experiencer and reality. David Darling, 1996.
Symmetry puzzle. This one's not so much symmetry, so much as just, again, a viewing angle. Now I gotta go back and reconfigure the path. very interesting looking area. God, this hurts the eyes. This really hurts the eyes.
You see, a motif is this. He put his hands together, drew them apart, the 10 fingers open, then slowly, very slowly, brought them together again, clasped them, squeezed them tightly, meshing them. That's what one should try to achieve. If one hand is held too high or too low, it won't work. Not a single link should be too slack, leaving a hole through which the emotion, the light, the truth can escape. You must understand that I work on the whole canvas, on everything at once. With one impulse, with undivided faith, I approach all the scattered bits and pieces. Everything we see falls apart, vanishes, doesn't it? Nature is always the same, but nothing in her that appears to us lasts. Our art must render the thrill of her permanence along with her elements, the appearance of all her changes. It must give us a taste of her eternity. What is there underneath? Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. Everything, you understand? So I bring together her wandering hands. I take something at right, something at left, here, there, everywhere. Her tones, her colors, her nuances. I set them down, I bring them together. They form lines, they become objects, rocks, trees, without my planning. They take on volume, value. If these volumes, these values, correspond on my canvas, in my sensibility, to the planes, to the spots which are there before our eyes, then my canvas has brought its hands together. It does not waver. The hands have been joined neither too high nor too low. My canvas is true, compact, full. But if there is the slightest distraction, if I fail just a little bit, above all, if I interpret too much one day, if today I am carried away by a theory which runs counter to that of yesterday, if I think while I paint, if I meddle, whoosh, everything goes to pieces. Paul Cézanne, as related by Joachim Gasquet, 1921.
Interesting. Personally, I think some artists need to listen to that more, but they won't. That can't be. So this is saying the same solution for all these. It is, because look, it's redoing the previous puzzle. It's literally going to have us redo the same solution over and over again. That is just dumb. Interesting, but dumb. So actually now we have to go over, change the green. No. That's not what we're doing. No, I do need to go over and change the other side first. I think. Wait, that's how I got in here in the first place. stray panel supposedly somewhere around here. I didn't spot it. There we go. Got it. Not sure what those stray panels do. I'm sure we'll find out at some point. This is very kind of a very meta-ish kind of game, it feels like. Especially if you're streaming it, because it's like, how to explain it? Super puzzle. Very interesting. Took me a moment to see that. Random puzzles. possible? Possible either. Shit. I don't know. I'm just gonna be throwing random solutions at this until I can get it. Again, I don't think that one was even possible. The barriers they keep putting up on this one, like, how do you make that even work? I don't get it. Again, I don't. That wasn't, again, I don't think that was even possible. Those ships are in there. I don't. Okay, so I think the guide has me starting at this one here. Then going over, up, over again, down, over 2, up 1, back over 1, up, over, up again, back over, down, over, down, okay. Yeah, I think it has me starting at this one here. Makes it very much think that maybe you're in purgatory. That place in between going up to the soul waits in before going to heaven.
A star
A star
at dawn.
Star at dawn.
At dawn.
Oh, it rotates around as you travel. Interesting. Climbing up the mountain. Looks like a husband and wife fighting. There's a recording right there that I missed.
A bubble
A bubble.
A bubble in a stream.
in a stream.
bubble in the stream.
An artist at work.
A flash of lightning in a summer
A
cloud.
flash of lightning
Flash.
in a summer cloud.
The elevator disappeared. I just noticed that. We're just kind of flying around at this point.
A flickering lamp.
A flickering lamp.
Flickering lamp.
A phantom.
A phantom.
Phantom.
A phantom.
A dream.
And a dream.
And a dream.
And a dream.
Interesting. So it actually closed the game on me after doing that, and there's still more stuff to go through and do. There's actually still more puzzles to go through and do, which is what I'm going to go through and try to do. That's what we're going to do. We're going to try to go through and finish up all the puzzles in this game, which there's like a still another like 100 some to go through and do. Follow that in just a moment.
Up there, you go around every hour and a half, time after time after time. You wake up usually in the mornings, and just the way that the track of your orbits go, you wake up over the Mideast, over North Africa. As you eat breakfast, you look out the window as you're going past, and there's the Mediterranean area, and Greece, and Rome, and North Africa, and the Sinai, the whole area. And you realize that in one glance, that what you're seeing is what was the whole history of man for years, the cradle of civilization. And you go around down across North Africa and out over the Indian Ocean, and look up at that great subcontinent of India, pointed down toward you as you go past it. And Ceylon off to the side, Burma, Southeast Asia, out over the Philippines, and up across that monstrous Pacific Ocean, vast body of water. You've never realized how big that is before. And you finally come up across the coast of California and look for those friendly things. Los Angeles and Phoenix, and on across El Paso. And there's Houston. There's home. And you look, and sure enough, there's the Astrodome. And you identify with that, you know? It's an attachment. And down across New Orleans, and then looking down to the south, and there's the whole peninsula of Florida laid out. And all the hundreds of hours you spent flying across that route, down in the atmosphere, all that is friendly again. And you go out across the Atlantic Ocean and back across Africa. And you do it again and again and again. And that identity that you identify with Houston, and then you identify with Los Angeles, and Phoenix, and New Orleans, and everything. And the next thing you recognize in yourself is you're identifying with North Africa. You look forward to that. You anticipate it. And there it is. That whole process begins to shift of what it is you identify with. When you go around it in an hour and a half, you begin to recognize that your identity is with that whole thing. And that makes a change. You look down there, and you can't imagine how many borders and boundaries you crossed again and again and again. And you don't even see them. At that wake-up scene, the Mid-East, you know there are hundreds of people killing each other over some imaginary line that you can't see. From where you see it, the thing is a whole, and it's so beautiful. And you wish you could take one from each side in hand and say, look at it from this perspective. Look at that. What's important? And so a little later on, your friend, again those same neighbors, another astronaut, the person next to you goes out to the moon. And now he looks back and sees the Earth not as something big where he can see the beautiful details, but he sees the Earth as a small thing out there. And now that contrast between that bright blue and white Christmas tree ornament and that black sky, that infinite universe, really comes through. The size of it, the significance of it, it becomes both things. It becomes so small and so fragile, and such a precious little spot in that universe that you can block it out with your thumb. And you realize that on that small spot, that little blue and white thing is everything that means anything to you. All of history and music and poetry and art and war and death and birth and love, tears, joy, games, all of it is on that little spot out there that you can cover with your thumb. And you realize that that perspective, that you've changed, that there's something new there. That relationship is no longer what it was. And then you look back on the time when you were outside on that EVA and those few moments that you had the time because the camera malfunctioned, that you had the time to think about what was happening. And you recall staring out there at the spectacle that went before your eyes. Because now, you're no longer inside something with a window looking out at a picture. But now you're out there. And what you've got around your head is a goldfish bowl, and there are no limits here. There are no frames. There are no boundaries. You're really out there, over it, floating, going 25,000 miles per hour, ripping through space, a vacuum, and there's not a sound. There's a silence, the depth of which you've never experienced before. And that silence contrasts so markedly with the scenery and the speed with which you know you're going. That contrast, the mix of those two things, really comes through. And you think about what you're experiencing and why. Do you deserve this? This fantastic experience? Have you earned this in some way? Are you separated out to be touched by God to have some special experience here that other men cannot have? You know the answer to that is no. There's nothing that you've done that deserves that earned that. It's not a special thing for you. You know very well at that moment, and it comes through to you so powerfully that you're the sensing element for man. You look down and see the surface of that globe that you've lived on all this time, and you know all those people down there. They are like you. They are you. And somehow you represent them when you are up there. A sensing element, that point out on the end, and that's a humbling feeling. It's a feeling that says you have a responsibility. It's not for yourself. The eye that doesn't see does not do justice to the body. That's why it's there. That's why you're out there. And somehow you recognize that you're a piece of this total life. You're out on that forefront and you have to bring that back somehow. And that becomes a rather special responsibility. It tells you something about your relationship with this thing we call life. And when you come back, there's a difference in that world now. There's a difference in that relationship between you and that planet, and you and all those other forms of life on that planet, because you've had that kind of experience. It's a difference, and it's so precious. And all through this, I've used the word you because it's not me. It's not Dave Scott. It's not Dick Gordon, Pete Conrad, John Glenn. It's you. It's us. It's we. It's life. It's had that experience. And it's not just my
wonder which
problem to
astronaut said
integrate.
all this.
It's not my challenge to integrate, my joy to integrate. It's yours. It's everybody's. Russell Schweikart, 1975.
Okay, so that activated a panel down at the bottom. That's what this yellow wire going all the way down is for. no point to this nonsense because I'm just not. And all these puzzles are randomized. So honestly, I think we're done because I'm not seeing anything in here that. That really makes it like, oh, yeah. Okay. I wonder if we can do this because I'm not doing all the puzzles. Might have to actually do the challenge, which means I'm not going to do it. Potentially. I'm just checking to make sure. I remember how to even get to the mountain challenge room. you absolutely have to do. To do it. Okay, well, I think we're done with the witness. Thank you all for joining on this little adventure. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your days. I will return later with Call of Duty.